Let's give brother a round of applause, man. Hold on, I got a call. Hold on, listen, I got a special guest I'm calling. Hold on. Let's get the super chat. Let's read the super chat.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Steve Kim, what's going on, brother? I got you on the phone on the show, man. Can you talk?
We did it first. We even motivate the greats. What's going on, Coach? Hey, I've been listening to the show, enjoying it as always. I had an idea. And as you were playing that Bill Haney soundbite,
yes, sir.
Here's my question to Bill. If you're saying that the pay-per-view numbers of your son's fights have been underreported or misrepresented, and you guys actually did more buys, that my son is a better draw than you think, we do make money, we are a pay-per-view attraction. Well, here's the question, though, Coach. Why doesn't DHP just promote off those numbers? Be the promoter. Put up the money. Control everything. So this way, you don't have to worry about the accounting. All the money and all the buys flow to you guys. They are promoters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I got an answer for that. I mean, the reason why is because they don't want to take the financial risk. If you know,
right? I mean, they always. It's interesting. They always talk about how great of a draw they are, and then you say, okay, well, let's do $100,000 threshold. Oh no, we can't do that. Why not? I'd say look, and I respect Bill and I like Devin, but they try to have it both ways. They want all the benefits of being a promoter, but they never take any of the risk. And again, if you're saying that the pay-per-view numbers that are being reported or put out or accounted for by the promoter, the ones that really promoted the event, are actually a lie, and you're doing much better numbers, and you're banking and you're grossing all these figures, well, you yourself should say, well, wait a minute. Why are we letting anyone else get a piece of the pie? You should do it yourself.
Yeah.
So bottom line is, Bill needs to put his money where his mouth is like every other promoter, because all he's doing right now is basically putting his logo on a banner and saying that they are promoting. But again, I'll go back to the purse bid where he was upset that Eddie Hearn didn't put up any money for his son's fight. Right. He put up the same amount of money as you did. None. Nothing. Zilch. Not a goddamn thing, basically.
Yeah, so, I always say that because, Steve, I'm not going to lie, fam. I get a lot of calls, man, especially now. And just to the information that I'm receiving, it appears that the Haneys have boxed themselves in a corner. It appears that Devin Haney, that brand or whatever, their stock has fallen. And
yes,
it like nobody no one is jumping to pay them the type of money that Bill and Devin Haney wants. I heard him say what he said about Turk Al-Sheikh. Turk Al-Sheikh was willing to pay for him and Devin Haney and Teofimo, but no one is willing to pay you that same kind of money for whatever he was offering you to fight Joe Blow or whatever. I just don't. That's what it appears. Now Bill says, according to Bill, yeah, man, they break the promoters are breaking their neck to try to get us to fight. And then when the question was asked, since the promoters are breaking their neck to sign you to get you to fight, what big name fighter you have to fight next? And he deflected the question. He didn't even answer it. So
yeah, he's deflecting more than a hockey goalie. Here's the issue. If there is this incredible demand, which again, I'll take Bill's word at it.
Yeah.
Is BLK Prime offering a better deal as a platform than anyone else? That's the question. And again, I'm not ripping the fact that they're coming back there, I believe, on March 1st. Look, if that's the way you want to stay busy, you want to control your own opponent, you don't want to face a puncher. Me and Tim Bradley talked about it on this week's 3 Knockdown Rule. Make sure you tune into that, guys. It got very, very animated. And my view is this. It's easy to call yourself a promoter if all you're going to do is make a logo and stamp it on a T-shirt. Being a promoter actually means taking financial risk, organizing the event, executing the event, and then dealing with whatever financial ramifications are in play.
Steve, I'm glad you brought that up. So let the fans know this. The fans can hear it, but because you hear some of these only certain fighters, really American fighters. It's only coming from the American fighters. Because I don't hear Joshua Usyk, Tyson Fury, Bokole, Daniel Dubois, or New Way. I don't hear nobody else talking like this but these guys over here on X. They say, well, I'm my own promotional company. I'm my own boss. Okay, what's the difference between a DHP, they their own promotional company, they their own boss, the youngest boss, the biggest bosses in the game, versus a top rank or a Matchroom or a Golden Boy? What's the difference between the two?
Well, nothing outside of everything. I mean, look, does DHP have a few fighters under contract that they put on undercards, mostly of Devin Haney fight cards? Yeah, I'm sure they do. But top rank Golden Boy, Matchroom, Queensberry, if you go onto the boxing calendar of ESPN or the Substack of Dan Raphael, you will see a regularly scheduled set of shows that take place all throughout the country and the world. They have fighters under contract, and they make fights, and they develop fighters, and it's not just centered around one opponent. So basically, when Devin Haney Promotion says, hey, we are a promoter, right, how many shows are you actually doing where Devin Haney does not perform inside that ring? I mean, it's really a vanity project. It's probably a way to, create an LLC. Maybe there's tax purposes involved. But again, if Bill Haney is saying that XYZ promoter, whether it's Bob Arum or Eddie Hearn, they need to pay my son and take the risk. Well, right then, he is admitting he is not the financier of that event, right, and he's not a promoter.
Yeah, and see, Steve, the pivot a little bit. I was reading your article on the show about Teofimo Lopez, right? I got to finish reading it.
And by the way, you got to read the last two paragraphs. That's where I really deliver the punchline. Some of my best work, by the way.
The last two paragraphs. You said what you said? Forget Cambosos. Forget Cambosos. Huh?
Yeah.
That one there. Yeah, forget Cambosos. Hold on, let me show it on the screen. Well, let me see what you say. Forget Cambosos. Lopez's toughest opponent has been himself. He say, anywho, to wrap this up, Haney will be on BLK Prime fighting to be announced, while Lopez will be lost in his own deep thoughts. They will, however, not be facing one another anytime soon. And see, Steve, that's the thing, right? When I had Bill Haney on this show last year, the question that I kept hammering, this was before the Ryan Garcia. I said, man, forget Ryan Garcia. The fight y'all need to be making is Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez. In my opinion, Steve, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, because of the history that the Haneys and the Lopez's have together, the back and forth, the time that they was at the DAZN event and they had the camera there and they was going, and Teofimo C was like, your son's a bum, yo. He's a bum. He would tell Bill he was a bum, and Bill was like, get down when you get mad at. And what you want to do? You going to sign the contract and all this stuff there. I'm like, man, fans, that's a fight the fans want to see. I'm telling you, they want to see this fight. I don't know how much money it's going to make, but for some reason, Bill talked all around it. He don't want to. He talked all around it, bro. I'm serious.
They've been circling each other, and I remember. I think that was at a DAZN card in Fresno.
Yeah.
And they squared off. They were jawing at each other. I knew the fight was in trouble, and I knew that maybe Teofimo had jumped the shark when he actually said, "Well, I have more followers than you do," and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is like a battle between Instagram models."
I remember that. I'm
just thinking to myself, what are we doing here? And here's the reality, and everyone talks about marinating fights. That fight has become that steak that you left on the grill for about an hour too long, and it's just like one big charred, hardened piece of beef that you can't eat. Because they both lost. They've both gone through a lot of things. In a way, it's kind of a smaller version of Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. And there was a peak value to that fight. And now, if they fight, there's still interest. But again, the fight's not going to mean as much as it would have, let's say, 2-3 years ago, Coach.
Steve, I'm glad you said something about that. You had discussions about this before. The state of American boxing. I don't say boxing. I say American boxing. I'm going to tell you why. Because it's only some of these American fighters who supposed to be the marquee names, the usual suspects, the ones I like they like to tweet a lot and all this stuff there on social media. It seemed like those guys, it seemed like boxing in America has become a joke. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's tabloidish. It's TMZ-ish. It's, cap, clout. You better not come to the fight. Don't be talking about Tank. Don't say nothing about Dev. This guy ducking this person. But neither of the top names are fighting each other.
No, I mean, look, I don't disagree with it. And the American boxing scene, I think it's become very repetitive and boring. There's not enough fights. I did my activity report for 2024 like I do every year. And, the Ring Magazine pound for pound, the current top 10, those 10 fighters didn't even average 2 fights each. They averaged 1.8. They fought 18 times total. So when you have your best, most elite, and popular fighters not fighting a lot or hardly at all, it impacts the sport. I mean, think about this, Coach. Has load management, which is basically a fancy way of saying players sitting out games, has it helped the NBA or has it hurt them? I think it's hurt the game.
It's hurt them.
Well, right. Well, it doesn't help boxing. I'll tell you that much.
Tell me, explain to the fans why boxing has always been kind of, I want to say, top heavy. The top star fighters. Of course, we're going to get a bunch of the smaller name fighters fighting each other, but the top star fighters are the ones who kind of like, keep the engine running. Keep the people interested. And when you get the top big name fighters who hardly fight, they fight once a year. We see more fighting on Twitter than anything. So fans are stuck with talk about Devin Haney's wife going to see a rapper in jail. Devin Haney's wife just bought a Bentley. Devin Haney bought a wife a Bentley. Tank Davis, he just got his hair permed, and that went viral. Like, this is where we at right now. Long gone is something you told me, and I tell this to everybody. You say, I have come to the conclusion that I have seen the best years of boxing that I'm ever going to see.
I mean, the bottom line is this. Look, if I was lucky enough, as a child growing up to see Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Duran, the Four Kings.
Yeah.
And then, relatively early in my run as a boxing reporter, and this is like pretty good amount of years now, I was lucky enough to be at a lot of the fights that featured the rivalries between Barrera, Morales, Marquez, Pacquiao. And I was lucky enough to see rematches and great fight series and true rivalries. We don't even get those anymore. We really don't. I mean, look, I don't want to be alarmist about it, but my job is to be honest.
Yeah.
If you look at the current trio, the quartet, what I call the four caps, Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo, and Ryan Garcia, they're now into their late, well, one guy's 30, and everyone's in their late 20s, right? They're no longer really young. They're in their physical prime. They haven't fought each other that much. I mean, Ryan Garcia's fought 2 of the guys.
He did.
Teo's fought none of the other guys. And if you look at the actual schedule, so Devin Haney's fighting on BLK to get his feet back wet. That's fine. Tank is fighting Lamont Roach. Teofimo is fighting with Top Rank. And, Ryan Garcia suspended. No one can tell me that's a great state of affairs right now.
Well, we waiting on the Canelo announcement, which I already don't wait on him. I don't know who he fighting. Crawford fight once a year. So it's like, bro, the time, in the name of the social media era that we're in, where everything is fast, like, people will forget about you quick. If you have a fight in October, let's say you had a fight in September, and this is January, that seemed like that happened so long ago.
There's no doubt. I mean, look.
So if you wait longer than that, if you haven't fought in 11 months, 10 months, people they forgot all about you.
Coach, we're talking about a sport that is niche. We're talking about a sport that is not in the upper tier. It's not the NFL. It's not Major League Baseball. It's not college football. Not even the NBA. But we are talking about a niche sport, which is second tier at best in America. So if you really want to make headway and break out and be a transcendent star, I don't know if you could do it by your early 20s, already becoming a twice-a-year fighter the way Shakur Stevenson became. And I have a question for your audience. when Canelo Alvarez walks away into the Mexican sunset,
Yeah.
who's the next true star?
Man.
Who's the next real pay-per-view franchise in this game?
We got
in
Edgar
North
Berlanga.
America.
We got Edgar Berlanga.
Yeah, you can have them. I mean,
hey Steve, this motherfucker. I say this man got beat by Canelo for 12 rounds, and this dude went on a world tour.
Could you imagine if he would have won just one round, how he'd be acting? I mean, I've never seen a fight where one guy tried not to win at all, but acted like he conquered the world. I think it's maddening, but that's the current state of affairs. And now I hear that Berlanga, I think I've read some reports, I think maybe Keith Idec reported on it, that maybe Berlanga is going to come back in February or March, and they're going to face some hand-picked guy. I don't get it.
They say Gabe Rosado. They say it's supposed to be Gabe Rosado is supposed to fight next. I don't know. That was a rumor.
I mean, I love Gabe, but I think he's about, a couple years from announcing his retirement.
He don't retire already. Gabe Rosado retired. He retired his last fight. He's a commentator now.
Right, and he's done pretty well at that. I think the networks are part of the problem here. Yes, they invest some money into the sport, but when you do not have quality control and somebody up there saying, no, we need a better fight for our network, which nobody really has, to be honest with you. And that's been the issue. There has not been enough quality control or guardrails that protect the network and their subscribers. And that's why I often think, is boxing better off just having networks that don't have any deals and just want to show a few fights and tell the promoters, you're on your own. We're not doing an exclusive output deal. You better make some fights, bring other people to the table, or we're just not going to give you guaranteed money and dates.
Steve, I'm glad you said that. Top Rank, rumor has it, and I've heard this from several people, that July their contract is supposed to be up with ESPN. Where does Top Rank go next? Where do they go at?
Well, I've heard several different networks. I mean, obviously, the situation with the Zone, that's been reported. The question is, do they want or will they have an exclusivity? Bob has made it clear. Todd DeBuff came on the 3 knockdown rule about 3 months ago. He made it clear they would prefer for their company to have multiple deals, to have a network that does a developmental show, maybe another network that does higher end shows. So, because that's basically how they used to do it during the days of HBO and Showtime.
Right.
So what I don't know, and I've not been told anything definitively, is how much of that DAZN deal relies on them giving most of their content to that particular platform. But yeah, it is July where they will then end that relationship with ESPN. That is true.
What have you heard about the PBC? I know Tank's supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach, and then David Benavidez is supposed to be fighting David Morrell February 1st. Tank Roach March 1st. What have you heard about that? I see a lot of their fighters are fighting on other.
Really heard, Coach, I haven't heard that much more than anyone else. I don't really keep in track of that side of the street.
Yeah.
Look, will they try to survive? Yes. I keep hearing certain things about Al Heyman's health overall. I don't know how much of his health is tied into the future of the company or vice versa. But look, they have a couple of shows. You just listed them. Outside of that, I can't honestly tell you that I've heard of anything else moving forward.
Yeah, that's a secret, man. I called Joe. I called the president. I called Joe Biden. I talked to the Secret Service. I talked to the CIA, the FBI, and they can't find out no information. So I'm like, if they can't find out no information, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I don't hear nothing, man.
Right. So that's where the game stands, and right now, for all the stuff that people complain about Turkey and Saudi Arabia, without them, a lot of the best fights that have recently been happening
wouldn't happen.
Would not occur. And the other thing is, I'm hearing all these complaints about, well, those fights are in Saudi Arabia. Right. Well, for 40 years, the game of boxing took fights away from real cities, hometowns, local regions, where guys were real ticket sellers, and they kept taking them out to far-out casinos. So Turkey Al-Sheikh and that organization did not create this current marketplace. They are reacting to it.
Yeah.
So if you
Facts.
really want to blame anybody, all those fights that took place in casinos and empty ballrooms or no energy venues, which I've been to a lot of them, and I kept thinking, wow, just because you get 50 free hotel rooms, this is what you do, huh? I think some of the criticism of Turki Al-Sheikh is misguided, given the fact that he is not changing the business of boxing in terms of fights not taking place in hometowns. He's just taking them out further out than what everyone else was the past 45, 50 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, Steve. Where do you see the future of of boxing in America? I feel like that the market has to reset itself. I will be glad when the older fighters retire, like the Crawfords, the Canelos. I think they're on their way out. We have the younger fighters coming up, the Abdullah Masons, the Keyshawn Davises, the Cormel Moultons, the Shakurs, the this and that. Ryan is still there, and so like, where do you see it at? It's at a weird place to me. It seemed like I can't put my finger on it, man. It just seemed like it's more like love and hip hop to me. Like I have no expectations now. I'm not excited about none of these guys. I just want to go on and see the tabloid stuff, and that's it. That just seemed like where it's at right now. Am I misreading this, or what do you think?
Not completely. Look, boxing will always exist. It'll never go away, but it'll never really be fixed. It'll always exist in some sort of vacuum with various economic structures. Larry Merchant had that famous line years ago, ain't nothing going to save it, ain't nothing going to kill it. That's my view of it at this point.
I'm talking about in America. Boxing as a whole is fine. I love boxing. I love where it's at right now, but I'm saying in America, I remember America used to be like the beacon of light for boxing. The Mike Tyson days, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, Pernell, those guys, Hagler, Hearns, Sugar Ray, Roberto Duran. It seemed like in America, it's a long way from that now.
No, it is, and I don't even know who's going to take the mantle. Yeah. Because the fact that even these guys in their early 20s who are really good talent automatically become twice-a-year fighters right off the bat, I said, we're killing it already.
Yeah.
If you go back, and I've charted this, I've written articles on it, I've studied it, guys like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto, who were really, really franchise fighters, they all fought more than twice when they had their early titles.
Yeah.
They did. They actually put in a lot of work. And one of the reasons why Canelo's been able to be so popular is that he's going to have nearly 70 fights. He put in, you do something enough, eventually people will notice.
Yeah.
Winky Wright was a guy that nobody wanted to fight for about 8 years.
Yeah.
But eventually we saw him often enough. He became a recognizable face. He made some serious money at the end, but he could not have done that in this current system. In this current system, he becomes Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it.
That's true.
And we're never going to have a year like 1997 when Oscar De La Hoya, as the game's most popular fighter, fought 5 times in 1 year, all title fights. Yeah. James Toney was the last guy in America to take non-title fights as a champion and stay busy fights.
Yeah.
Fighters either aren't willing to do it, or they simply can't, or their managers will not let them. And I believe over the long haul, there's a certain erosion to the business in America that's taken place.
Do you think so? What's the? Are you just waiting to see what's going to happen? It seems like the market is. Maybe I'm misreading it, kind of resetting itself. It seems like it's more diva stuff going on. Like right now, I'm telling you, Steve. It just seems like it's more diva stuff going on right now. A lot of these fighters.
It is, but look, I just report what happens. I'm just a guy that is an observer.
Yeah.
I long given up on boxing ever becoming a sport that is up there with football, the National Football League or even college football? Yeah, because I'm a realist. I think I know enough about this to understand the people that are involved, that boxing could never truly be what it once was. We have created a culture where fighters and managers don't think it's imperative that they fight more often, so they're not building careers. Promoters they're in a tough spot. They don't want to lose money, so they don't build local draws anymore. They all go to these Indian casinos or these far-out venues that'll promise them 100 hotel rooms. And I think to myself, what is really the long-term plan here?
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I've already, like I told you, I was fortunate enough to see a young De La Hoya, to see young Roy Jones, to see Trinidad, to go to the Garden. I mean, think about it. When was the last time there was really a big Madison Square Garden show? Not at the theater, but the actual Garden. I live in L.A. Coach, there hasn't been a big-time L.A. fight in at least a year or two that really filled up the venue. I mean, there was the Terrence Crawford fight in the summer, but they gave away a lot of tickets. We have to be honest about it. Yeah. But there was a time when the Staples Center, at least once or twice a year, would host a big fight, and then a venue like the StubHub Center, or whatever it's called now, was used on a regular basis, and you could build stuff. Well, here's the issue now. Because of all the ticket giveaways that were going on during the PBC era during COVID, none of the promoters wants to go there now. And now I'm told, because of the union, it's too expensive. So I'm thinking, geez, LA may not have major boxing on a regular basis moving forward. How do you build a sport where LA and New York, the two major markets in America, do not do regular big-time boxing? Can you really grow a sport like that?
No, you can't. And we was talking about that when we was in that when I was in LA with you, and I think me, you, and Victor Conti. I think all of us was talking, and Maestro, and it's like it's a lot of these events, a lot of these boxing matches, these promotional companies, they give out a lot of tickets, comps. I mean, I don't know exactly how does that affect the fighters' pay. I don't know, but would it be wise for a fighter in today's time to take back end money?
No. It wouldn't, because there probably is no back end money to be had. I mean, if you're talking about, hey, I have to rely on a certain amount of pay-per-view buys for the upside to kick in, you better be very careful. You better understand the market. There is a lot of piracy, but I also think pay-per-views have priced out a lot of people. And we have to be honest about this. When people say, well, I'm not paying for that, that really means I'm going to get a stream. Yeah. And there used to be a time to steal a pay-per-view, you had to get a black box, the magical black box. Never saw one, but I heard about it. It was mystical. It was legendary.
I had one.
Yeah. And nowadays, all you need is a laptop. Yeah. Get a link, punch it in, and all of a sudden, the quality is much better than it was even like 10, 15 years ago with Justin TV. So even the pay-per-view realm is now been markedly affected, although it has to be said, certain fights, if they're good enough, they're not really that impacted by piracy. People are willing to pay. But I think that what has happened with the dilution of pay-per-view and it being so prevalent, you have just created a generation of fans who says, you know what, you're not screwing me, I'm screwing you.
Bro, like I'm bitter. I'm like, bro, listen, I've always bought the fights. But even me, I'm like, man, I never thought I'd be saying this, but I'm just tired, man. I'm tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of, look, I did not pay to see Canelo fight Jaime Munguia or Edgar Blanca. I didn't pay for that shit. I'm telling you. I didn't pay to see when Tank fought Frank Martin on pay-per-view. I didn't pay for that. I'm a boxing fan that always buy the pay-per-views. I didn't buy them because I'm saying, you know what, man, they right now they're milking the cow. This is not a pay-per-view worthy fight. You're not going to give me a whole head cheese sandwich and say Canelo gonna fight him. A fight that we automatically know who gonna goddamn win. We know what it's going to be. We know stylistically this don't look right. We know what this guy's going to do. And you're trying to charge me $85, $90 to see this? Nah. So I didn't do no fight parties for Canelo. I didn't buy none of his pay-per-views. I didn't buy Tank. And guess what? When Tank fight doggone Lamont Rose, I won't be buying this one either. I'm not buying it. I'm telling you, I'm not doing it.
I mean, look, this has been like, it's that old saying about, how did the newspaper business, how did it get to this point? Well, it was gradual, and then it was sudden. You say the same thing for boxing. I mean, I used to write a lot of articles about what I felt was wrong with the state of boxing, the business of boxing, the way it was run. I used to really care about it. But over the last couple of years, I'm like, I'm old and lazy now. I'm just going to watch the fights. It's not my problem anymore. No one listened to me. They should have listened to me. I probably should have been made the commissioner of boxing, but everyone has, when you have an industry where there's no central organization or ruling body,
Yeah.
and everyone is looking out for their own self-interest, this is what's going to happen. So the way I look at it now is, look, I have to watch the fights or some of the fights. That's still my job.
Yeah.
But as for actually caring about it and being emotionally invested to the health of the sport, that's not my job. No, it really isn't. I've done the best I could. I've probably written about more hard issues, probably spoken about it more honestly than anyone else, probably made more enemies. But at the end of the day, where did it really get us? No one's going to change the sport because no one's going to give up their own self-interest. And that's kind of the way it is. And so I just live with it, and I just say, as long as the check's clear, I'm good.
Well, Steve, you fought the good fight. And they don't need to fight no more. It is what it is. I feel like I've been on there 4 years now. I fought the good fight. I'm done. I haven't been at it as long as you have. I'm done. I see exactly where it's at in America. It's about the gossip. It's about the TMZ stuff. So that's why I'm shifting. I'm shifting over there. We're gonna cover some real good boxing. When we do have the good fights, I love the fact that Turki Al-Sheikh, we was able to get Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk twice. Steve, I want you to think about this. Listen, when Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder were both undefeated, they had an opportunity to fight each other to become undisputed. Even after Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz but won his belts back, they had an opportunity. Deontay Wilder, I remember it like it was yesterday, he called Tyson Fury out of retirement. Tyson Fury had 2 warm-up fights. Then they fought. I remember they were saying, Tyson Fury was saying, the pumped up middleweight, the pumped up the bodybuilder did not want to fight, the hardest hitting man in the history of boxing, Deontay Wilder. I'm going to come do my country proud, do what Anthony Joshua was too scared to do. And they end up having their 3 fights. And Alexander Usyk, I think he was still at cruiserweight. This guy comes out of nowhere, and now Usyk he was undisputed, and we still ain't get a fight with Joshua and Wilder, and they had the opportunity to do that before Usyk did. That's amazing to me.
So this is what it is, and then now Lopez and Haney, they both think that they're Mayweather and Pacquiao, and they're more like Bobby Pacquiao and Jeff Mayweather. And so look, guys, it's to a point. I'll comment on it. It's content for me to make a living with. But I don't believe that the game of boxing, at least in America, is ever truly going to be fixed. It'll forever be flawed. That's part of the appeal because I think some of it's funny.
Yeah.
But I just think it's so funny that now Turkey is hurting boxing. And I'm thinking to myself, folks, you didn't see what was going on for 45, 50 years before Turkey? I mean, so he's the problem. It's one of the most dishonest agendas I've ever seen.
No, you know what it is? Us Americans, we like to whine, bitch, moan, and complain. That's it. So that's what I noticed. We like to whine, bitch, moan, and complain. Man, I don't like what Turkey doing. He met them butt it up. And I'm down with the PBC, and we waiting on Al Hammond. You do know that y'all hardly fighting. Like, they don't care. Like, it's just like over here in America, it seems like this beta male culture that we're in, very soft, very sophisticated. Everything is soft now. American boxing is soft. Basketball is soft. If I look at you hard enough, it's a foul. Football, you can't play defense. It's just, man, if you, everybody get offended, you got to apologize. I'm going to counsel you. It's just, man, this shit just straight bitch right now, Steve. I'm like, I feel like I'm in the world of Bizarro, to be fair, fam.
Yeah, it is. And so I just tell people, enjoy what you want. Watch what you want. You don't have to watch all of it. It's like a movie. When you go to a theater, you watch the movies that appeal to you, and you can leave the rest alone. So it is what it is. And unfortunately, the latest example about the malignancy of the modern Boxing Day business is this situation with Teofimo and Devin Haney. Keep this in mind. When Ray Leonard fought Tommy Hearns, they were basically 25 and 23 years old. Yeah,
25 and 23. So, Steve, on the wrap up, what do you think Devin Haney go from here? Like, who do you think he's going to fight next?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming with that fight on March 1st, they're going to fight a guy that probably is moving up in weight, can't punch.
Yeah.
But which I understand. I think that's actually the proper thing to do. And then, Ryan Garcia comes back in April. That's when his suspension ends. I'm assuming that they will try to at least get a rematch going. And by the way, this is another thing. Okay, so you're not going to fight Teofimo Lopez because of his incendiary racial comments, right? You pointed that out, right, Coach?
Well, no, I think they turned it down because from what Bill Haney was saying, that wasn't it. He was saying he didn't like the contract offer that Bob offered them. The offer was Bob said that, and I guess for them to get their back end money to kick in, they needed to reach the 100,000 pay-per-view benchmark.
I do know that Devin made mention of the fact that Teo said some, derogatory things.
He did, yeah.
Well, so is Ryan. See?
Yeah, you know what?
They don't even understand their own hypocrisy. I'm just telling you.
You're right about that. So is Ryan. So if you don't want to fight Teo because you feel he's made racially insensitive comments,
right? Well, does that not apply to everybody?
Why are you still trying to fight Ryan Garcia?
Bingo.
Wow. All right, Steve, man. Let people know, man. How to get in contact with you for knockdown. The knockdown rule. Let everybody know.
Yeah. So tomorrow, the show's gonna come out. Me, Mario Lopez, and Tim Bradley. It got very animated, very heated. We discussed several things. So that show will be out tomorrow. Just go to YouTube, the number 3 knockdown rule, and you can follow me on Twitter, Steve Kim 323, and on Instagram, Steve Orale Kim.
Man, Steve, man, hey, thank you so much, brother, man, for taking the time out. I really appreciate you, fam. Shout out to Steve Kim. Let's give Steve Kim a round of applause, man. I'll talk to you.
Man, I'm out of here, bro. Let's go. Man, I'm out of here, bro. Let's go.